Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here, and today we're looking at Crimson Plague #1 by the great George Pérez.
FitzTroytv, comic book art critiques. Snark, pizza, and sarcastic ways. Represent and geeky gaze. Aliens, comics, rule the day. Hurry up and turn that page. Michael FitzTroy.
All you George Pérez fans out there, hopefully you are familiar with this book. If not, you're in for a treat. This was George Pérez's. Everybody was doing creator-owned books in the 90s, and George Pérez is no exception. He worked on sax and violins with Peter David at Epic Comics prior to this. Event Comics is like Jimmy Palmiotti and Joe Quesada's line that produced Ash and Painkiller Jane and fun books like that. So I guess they published George Pérez here. And so Crimson Plague, it's like a sci-fi kind of space book, but it's got this character, and she's got like toxic, lethal blood. So that's kind of interesting. One of the other interesting things about this book, I mean, look, this is the first page. Isn't that gorgeous? God, I miss George Pérez's work. Such a shame. He's retired now because failing eyesight. He's had a few eye surgeries over the years, and you know, it's just like the cold irony of one of the most detailed artists in comic book history losing his eyesight is just heartbreaking, but sort of understandable. I mean, God, I would go blind drawing this one page here. So George Pérez, creator, writer, artist, editor. So he's writing, penciling, and inking. Tom Smith is his colorist, who he worked with on tons of stuff. You know, Tom colored his work on the Avengers, and they worked together a lot after that. And I feel like, I'm not sure if, I feel like Avengers might have been their first collaboration, but he just is such a great fit for Pérez and just makes his stellar work shine. One of the things that I was going to say, one of the downfalls of this book is that Pérez decided to use real people for the cast of the book and just like acquaintances, friends, fans. And so I don't know if everyone is based on somebody, but a lot of people are, to the point where he was having to do so much reference and just like it was way too much work. I mean, obviously George Pérez is somebody who's not, you know, afraid of the work, but I guess everyone has their limits, right? I mean, just from a storytelling point of view, that's always been one of George Pérez, even before he became this insanely detailed, gorgeous artist. He was always such a strong storyteller, if you look back on his earlier work, and just, he is like the consummate comic book artist. I mean, he just brings everything you would want. I love it because, like I said, her blood is toxic. Spoilers. So she's getting stabbed here, and she just grabs some blood off of her side and like flicks at this guy, and his skin like deteriorates and evaporates. So you may or may not be wondering, and I didn't even know if I was going to bring this up, but it's a part of the book. So how do I tell you without telling you that once a month she becomes even more toxic than she already is because of her period, her deadly period. And now, I mean, that is a feminist nightmare right there. I mean, what was it, in the 1700s or whatever, where they would banish women to the wild on their periods? So that is like the ultimate version of this. I mean, not that you could ban this woman from anything, the way she's tearing shit up, but I just had to put it out there. I don't know, I don't really remember. I think there was only a couple of issues, maybe 3 at the most of this before it ended, and I don't know how much they delved into that, but I do definitely think it was part of it. The production value is just amazing. Event Comics always looked so good. Like, I mean, it's so funny. You can tell, like, looking at some of these faces, because Perez is so good at that. Like, if you look at the Teen Titans, they all had such distinct faces, and even just their mannerisms and the way they posed and their body language and the way they related to one another was just. And I love this too. I definitely have seen the chick that this is character is based on, and I'm guessing that must be her real tattoo. Like, how dare you? I have to draw you, and then you're gonna have a big tattoo on your thigh as well. So cool. This is making me think, like, just because I did, who was it? Sam Keith, a video on Sam Keith's Alien book. How amazing would an Alien comic book by George Pérez be? I could just see the Queen Mother right now. Oh my god, how exciting. Yeah, see all these people here, and you can totally tell, too. Their faces are way too distinct to not be based on real people. So that is just George slaving away, making life harder for himself, and having to put in all that extra work. God bless him. That is so cool. I love George Perez's spaceships. This looks like a souped up, like straight out of like Marvel comics from the 70s or the 80s, but with the flourish of the Perez design. It's so funny to see this, and I'm wondering, I'd like to see the original art for this, because I've always enjoyed Perez's version of BWS, and BWS is a comic book term that does not stand for Barry Windsor Smith. It stands for Black with Stars. And rather than, so if he was going to pass this off to an inker, he would just put BWS, BWS a few times in the background to indicate to the inker that the backdrop was supposed to be black with stars. But then you get to computer coloring in the 90s. And that's why I'm saying I don't know for sure which this is. As nuts as Perez is, I'm betting that he actually inked in the background on that. But don't quote me on that. But I was kind of sad when they had the ability to do that, because it was always so much fun to see how different inkers or pencilers or artists would do their version of the Starry Skies. It's funny because I remember when I first got this, and see how it has this cool, like, realistic design on her shirt. It looked so off to me at the time, just because, I'm used to, like, flat color, and to see Perez's work, like, so rendered like that. But it looks good. Like, I really like it. So, oh my god, this is freaking amazing. And this is George Perez, of course, giving us a bunch of superheroes, because that's what he loves. That's what he does best. And he does such great costume designs. He's designed so many costumes over the years, probably a lot that you don't even know about. One of his signatures, I feel, in his costume design was always creating, like, asymmetry to it. Just, like, little things here and there, like Starfire from the New Teen Titans only having one armband. And he used to say that artists after him would never get it right. They'd either draw two armbands, no armband, or put it on the wrong arm. And I think that's kind of funny. So knowing that, I always try to be faithful to that whenever I draw Starfire, which isn't too often, but it happens. I just love Perez's space stuff. I love anything he does. What can I tell you? So crazy, all the detail and insane amount of work that just went into this. It's just super crazy. And really gorgeous, though. I mean, just stunningly beautiful. I mean, this is kind of making me, like, in my mind's eye, see how cool this would be as a movie and how well it would work as a movie. I just love Perez's style. I just love it. He's growing up, like, him and John Byrne were always my two favorites. I know I cover a lot more John Byrne on my channel, but Perez was so up there. Like, I was a Perez clone myself, and I just wanted to draw just like him, and I tried to emulate his style, and I could probably do a decent impersonation of it, but, we already have George Perez. We don't need a decent, bad, or any kind of impersonation. See, there's some of the Event comics. And issue 2, I know it definitely had 2 issues, maybe 3. I don't remember. I'm going to have to look that up. I probably should have done that before this video. But hey, whatever. There you have it. Crismon Plague by George Pérez from Event Comics in 1997. So it's not as old as I thought. Anyway, I mean, it's pretty old, but thanks so much for watching. I super appreciate it. Please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate that even more. Like, share my content, and I'll bring you some more later. All right, thanks, guys.